Welcome to Heroes First Podcast, sponsored by Fund the First, the nation's leading verified crowdfunding platform for first responders, military, and medical professionals. And now, your host, broadcasting from Long Island, New York, Robert Garland.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining this episode of Heroes First Podcast. Each show, you'll hear from a new guest that portrays excellence in the first responder, military, or medical professional field. If you are an active or retired member of the service, or even a family member or a friend, then this show is for you. Our podcast is also proud partners with the Everyday Heroes Podcast Network and the Law Enforcement Today Podcast Network. I would like to present to you our guest for episode 33 of this podcast series, Edward Ayres. Edward, how are you?
I'm doing great, better than I deserve. Thanks for having me on the show.
Awesome. Why you say that?
Every day vertical is a day better than I deserve. That's exactly right.
Okay. Wow. That's, you know what? That's an interesting take on life. I like that.
It keeps me positive and motivated throughout the days. I often say happiness is a choice, and I made a choice a long time ago to be happy today. And so that's where that I'm better than I deserve comes from. And Dave Ramsey also uses it.
Keep going. I want to hear more.
No, that's good. I several years ago, I bumped into a dead motivational speaker named Zig Ziglar, and it changed my life completely. And that's where, I chose to be happy today. And I made that choice about 3 years ago. And it's impacted my life ever since.
That's excellent. Well, that's a great outlook on life. You can't get any better than that.
Yes, sir.
You really can't. So Edward, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. And I'm trying to remember how we connected. Did we connect through Chris Landano?
Chris is a good friend of mine. And to be quite blunt, it may have been through Chris. It might just been through a LinkedIn outreach. I'm not quite for sure because it was a couple months ago.
Right. Yeah. No. So Chris is a great guy. He's former FDNY, and he's always talking about all these inventions. And I got on one of his calls once to hear about, the whole Inventor network. And it's really incredible, to listen to everybody about what they're doing in the space, and what you have going with Inventor Process is pretty incredible as well. And I'd love to give you the stage. I want to hear what Inventor Process is all about.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'd love to share it. First, again, thanks for having me on the show. I do want to thank your fans and all the heroes tuning in and listening to the podcast. It's quite the honor to be able to share our message with them. But Inventor Process, in a nutshell, we are a consulting firm that specializes in offering business development services to independent inventors. As I often say, people are long on ideas. They're just short on know-how. And that's exactly where we come in. We bridge that gap from concept to market. And we do that through the ideation process, helping to develop the invention, all the way through the intellectual property phase and securing that necessary legal protection. But more importantly, and I say more importantly because that won't make you any money, is we help independent inventors launch their products to the marketplace, either through licensing or venturing. And of course, you need market success to reap the benefits of being an inventor. And so that's what we do in a nutshell.
I wish I knew about this way back. I want to go back maybe, what are we in, 2021? So
yes,
probably around 2011. I had an idea. You ready for this? Yep. So I was working on patrol at the time in Midtown Manhattan. I'm in law enforcement. So I'm working on patrol. I'm with one of my partners. And one of the biggest things that happens when you're on patrol is you're wearing your gun belt and you got to run to the bathroom. And not number one, number two. So what happens then? You're ripping off your equipment, you're throwing it all over the place, trying to find a stall, and then all of a sudden your radio starts going off, and you got to jump up and put everything back together. And before you know it, you miss that call. Especially if it's an emergency. So I came up with this idea for these pants, basically, that had a zipper underneath your belt, and it went around, and you just dropped the zipper, you kept your gun belt on, and then you pulled the zipper back up. It was really cool. It was a great idea. It was simple, it was fast. And I actually got in touch with 3 of the major distributors in the country that do pants for law enforcement. And I didn't know about the whole process back then, about protecting your IP and, protecting your invention, protecting your intellectual property, all that kind of stuff. And I had no idea. And I go and just tell them about this. Hey, I have this idea. How would you guys run with it? But, give me the the money for it, basically.
Toss me a bone if you would.
Yeah. So this one major company said, okay, we'd love to do this. And then I kind of just fell off with it because I saw that how much money is going to cost and everything. And sure enough, a couple of years later, they invented the pants.
Really?
They're out there. They weren't the exact same that I wanted. They were a little less user friendly, let's say. I'm going to go in the tech space, but user friendly.
Yeah.
But they didn't sell too well, so I wasn't that upset. But I wish I knew about you back then because it would have been a totally different story.
No, yes, sir. That's 100% correct. And typically for an independent inventor, we don't recommend venturing on their first endeavor. And venturing simply means you're going to be the guy who completely develops the product. You're going to carry it through the manufacturing and the launch stage. And the reason we don't recommend it is most independent inventors run out of money way before they get the product to the shelf. So most likely, if we would have been talking in 2011, I would have recommended first ensuring there's a market for it, and then second, pursuing it via licensing. And I would have certainly recommended seeing if the patent protection was available. Some people in my space will tell you it's not as important as I believe it is. Even with all the flaws in the patent office and the patent system, I believe for independent inventors, it's truly the only way to protect your product from companies, well, like the one you spoke to, from basically knocking you off or ripping you off outright. So yeah, we would have probably approached it a little different. I don't know if the outcome would have been any different, but our approach certainly would have.
No, now let me ask you something. So I run a platform, obviously it's an online crowdfunding platform at fundthefirst.com. And I guess you could call it an invention. It's not necessarily an IP, but it's a new product to the market. Now we got investors in order to make this happen. Do you recommend, as a consulting firm with everything you do with the Inventor process, do you recommend that, these people that come to you, that, you're helping investors, your patent market and succeed, right? Do you recommend that they put together a deck, they put together a business plan and everything, and then go out and look for investors before they put together their design?
Not before they put together their design. No, often when they're working with us, they already have a basic design, a concept, if you will. And certainly through the development, the ideation stage, we help them flush that out into a marketable product. But we often recommend investors, depending on the course of action they're choosing. I'm a big believer in approaching investors unprepared is preparing to fail, just similar to the old saying. So yes, creating a motivational deck, focusing on the problem, your solution, and then the ask. And that's what I recommend to our clients when they need to raise funds. Often I'm a big believer, again, I hate to keep bringing up Dave Ramsey, but every dollar should have a name. So through licensing and using our resources and our team, a lot of times you can do this for a lot less out-of-pocket expense without taking a shortcut than you would hear from other companies or other firms in the space. And certainly if you were just out there doing it yourself by knocking on doors. So yes, if you need funding, we can guide our clients, we do, on raising those funds. But often, if it's not necessary, it's something that we coach on avoiding so they can keep that equity.
Right. I mean, listen, keeping equity in your business is very important, but also giving up a portion helps a lot, to sell and raise that capital, as long as you do it properly. A lot of people, they don't realize, with the LLCs, with the C Corps and everything, how to divvy up their shares, how to extend more shares, how to authorize more shares, and all that kind of stuff. A lot goes into it, and that's a whole other discussion. But now, you're former military. Thank you for your service. And we see a lot in the military community. I'm sure you've heard this expression before, bootstrapping their ideas and starting everything out of pocket. Now, what happens when guys start to do that or women start to do that?
So that's very common in the invention space. And it's very common often because the inventors, again, these are hardworking men and women a lot of the times, at least our client base is. We're not working in the tech field. We're not working with the MIT engineers. Our clients are hardworking men and women. They get a good idea. It usually has something to do with their job, raising their family or their hobby. And we're big believers in bootstrapping, especially if we're going the licensing route. It doesn't require mortgaging your home if you're doing it the right way. So again, we don't shy away from raising funds. We don't shy away from building an organization, but we certainly do believe in establishing your goal, I guess, and then implementing a plan to reach that goal. You don't want to be worried about course correction, but if you have a good plan and every dollar has a name, again, bootstrapping is a great way to go. You start to build that revenue, you invest it back into the company, and you grow from there. And so we recommend that 90% of the time to our startup inventors.
So I'm going to bring up your website now. Let's share the screen over here.
Sure.
So we got Inventor Process, and I almost said it. I almost said investor, but it's
Everybody
Inventor.
Yep.
So it's Inventor Process. So walk us through your website, so anybody that's going to be watching on YouTube is familiar with it.
Sure. So again, Inventor Process, just to backtrack, the reason the name, we help inventors, we have a great process. We felt it created a natural synergy to express what we do. But if you log onto our website, you'll find a couple of things. First, you'll find submit your product information. There is no lack of creativity around the world. We help inventors no matter their geographical location. We get a bunch of inventors who submit their product. We don't work with every one of them. We actually offer a cost and obligation-free review. This review is not there to guarantee success. It is not there to hide the risk that's involved in new product introduction, but it is there to eliminate the products that we feel don't stand a chance. And so we review those products based off cost-price ratio, target market, manufacturability, and then what I call wow factor, and well, what everybody else calls marketability. And we do that completely free before they ever submit they being the inventors, submit their idea. They sign the declaration of confidentiality and non-use. It's a legal binding document, states that we will not discuss, reveal, or use their product without their prior written permission. It's very important for an inventor. If they work with us, if they work with really anybody, if they don't have legal protection in place, I'm a big believer in the NDA. And then, of course, we offer a free inventors consultation. All you have to do is submit your information. We never even ask the ideas over the phone. We very simply explain who we are, how we may be able to assist them, the service plans that we offer. And then, of course, we are happy to answer questions and explain the process. And that little video, it's several years old. It's probably in need of an updating, but I like it. It explains our direct submission program. And that's our exclusive process geared to help independent inventors license their products. It empowers them so they can market their product and they don't put the fate of their invention in the hands of anybody else. We educate them, we provide high quality services, and then we provide the background assistance so they can actively market their product. And it puts them really in the driver's seat of their success. We're the only firm that does it that way.
This is great. I love it.
And I'm sorry, let me take a drink, my faded Dallas Cowboys cup from the last time they won a Super Bowl. Sorry about that. Here at the direct submission program, that's our core service. It focuses on the three primary hurdles of licensing. I do tell inventors it's not a three-step process, not by any means, but there are three major hurdles. And the first one is 99% of the time an inventor has to own their product before anybody would be willing to license it from them. Why would a company pay you a royalty on something they could do themselves without you? That's the importance of that patent. So we offer patent research, making sure that you can actually get a strong quality patent. Then our legal team implements a great IP strategy. Once that is in motion, well, the most important part of new product introduction is marketing. Without marketing, you'll go nowhere. So we have a great research team and a great campaign team that puts together the facts and figures that allows the outreach to be very compelling and to entice companies to actually make multi-million-dollar investments sometimes in these inventions, get them to the shelves of the marketplace, and then pay our clients a fair royalty. And then step three. This is where we excel, and I'm not scared to pat my team on the back. Without them, we wouldn't be anywhere, and they're super talented when it comes to negotiating. There's over 30 key aspects in any licensing agreement that should be negotiated. To be quite blunt, 20 of them are, checklist type items, but 10 of them will make or break a deal. And many independent inventors who negotiate on their own or use inexperienced professionals we'll miss several of them, and they can be detrimental to the profitability of an agreement. Our team, again, I wish I could take all the credit, but it's the guys in the background that really knock it out of the park when it comes to royalty negotiations.
Now it's pretty incredible. You mentioned that some of these deals are multi-million-dollar deals. What type of inventions are those?
So again, when it comes to new product introduction, a lot of times people think, well, you just got to make a product and then everybody will come beat down your door. I call it the Kevin Costner complex, build it and they will come. That's not true at all. So the manufacturers, when I talk about these big investments, I'm talking about prototyping, tooling up, the distribution and the marketing and everything that comes with the launch of a new product. That can get into the millions of dollars sometimes. But the products that we focus on and the ones that we've had some of the greatest success with are truly the simple products. And one of our latest products, it'll be hitting the marketplace right about the holiday season. And I say ours. That's because I love these products and these inventors. It's actually our client. Her name is Chris Ayres. She invented a very simple device to help you open up a sliding door with your foot. Glass patio doors, often you're barbecuing, you walk to the door, you've got your tray of iced tea or barbecue, and you've got to put that tray down. You have to open up the door. You have to pick up your tray and move outside that door. At the same time, the dogs ran out and the bugs have got in. Well, with the kicker, you can very simply slide the door open with your foot, move through it, slide it back through. That was licensed in January. It will hit the marketplace the end of this year, and we are expecting complete North American distribution on the first run. That's going to be our consumers have to buy it, but that should be a very lucrative agreement for our client. And then, of course, we share in the royalties, so for us too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I'm sorry to turn my back on you. A couple of neat little products since we're talking about.
I'm going to stop the screen share. Yeah, go ahead. Let's see.
And just the.
You know who that is?
Dino Dunkers.
That's Pat Pogan.
Oh, perfect. You know Mr. Pogan?
I know Pat very well. We went to high school together.
Outstanding. So we have launched a new service for independent inventors called Inventor Made. And this is a platform that sells products specifically invented by independent inventors. And so Mr. Pogan and his Dino Dunkers are one of the first products on inventormade.com. I think he is a great guy. This is a super fun product, and I love to show it off every time I get a chance. And the listening audience can get them at inventormade.com. That's our new platform.
That's so funny that you showed that just now. Pat and I was just with his wife the other night because our kids are going to school together in the same class. Wow. And yeah, Pat and I, we've been close for 20 years. Yeah,
very small world. Chris, Pat. I wonder who else we know in common.
Yeah, I know, that's right. Yeah,
and then really this is a great little product. I'm a dog lover, pet lover, and in the U.S. we spend about $86 billion a year on pet products. 25% of that is on accessories, little shirts that say small package, big attitude, things of that nature. And this is a great little product if your little four-legged friend is barking at the door when the pizza man comes, or just loves, getting a little bit aggressive with the neighborhood kids. It's called the Dog You Don't. All you do is you buzz it. It has that perfect pitch that causes the dogs to pay attention and typically stop their behavior. But the Dog You Don't device, it's a great pet product. You can also get this at inventormade.com. Not that I'm hawking products here, but I wanted to show off a couple of ours.
Well, I'm going to get that one because right now my dogs aren't yapping, but they do.
I have a little guy right here who's being super sweet now, but just in case you'll hear it go off.
So it's funny, really, really small world. I want to backtrack for a second. So you have a history in the military. If you don't mind, tell us about your background in the Army.
Sure. So again, I've always had a patriotic duty. My grandfather was in the Army. My father was in Vietnam. I grew up knowing that I had a duty to serve. So I joined in high school, the delayed entry program. 14 days after graduation, when my buddies were still on the beach, I was doing push-ups at Fort Leonard Wood, which happens to be the very base my father went to basic training in 1968. So that was a little bit of reminiscing for him. And then I was stationed at Goodfellow Air Force Base, where I went to AIT. I was in the Army. I was stationed on an Air Force base. It was a great awakening, and I wish I'd have done a little research before I joined, based off lifestyle. But then I was fortunate and was stationed with the 101st Airborne Division, the 311th Military Intelligence Battalion, the Eyes of the Eagle. And I was a signal intelligence analyst, which is just a bunch of information comes in, and our team tried to make heads or tails out of it and get it out to the real soldiers on the battlefield so they can make use of it, or a force multiplier. But we're fortunate enough to be able to stay back from the front lines often enough. Of course, the 101st were fairly tactical. Anyway, I enjoyed my time in the military. I actually had a desire to be a Secret Service agent almost my entire life. I injured myself in training, not wartime, thank the Lord Almighty. And I changed my direction and went from wanting to be a Secret Service agent, to being fortunate enough to be in new product introduction. But yeah, so served with the 101st, some great guys for 4 years.
So I'm assuming you have your own inventions.
Actually, no.
Really?
I get asked that all the time. I've had some ideas in the past, and I often say I'm like the plumber whose faucet is dripping at home, or the mechanic who has a car that doesn't run. I've never actually implemented any of my own ideas. I do spend a lot of time helping our clients implement theirs. But no, I don't have any of my own inventions. My career goal was not to be a new product introduction. I often say I was extremely lucky, was introduced to the field by someone who I respect and had a lot of honor, let's use what it is, and followed him into the industry. And well, it must have stuck because I've been around for about 22 years now.
Wow. So what officially made you go from the military, obviously your injury, but from the military into this transition of inventor process?
Yeah, no, so it's great. So what happened is I got out of the military, and like many people had no idea what I was going to do. So I opened my own make-ready business. Always been an entrepreneur. I had a flea market business in the Army, made more money on Saturday and Sunday than I ever did in the US Army. But it's just, I enjoy people. But I actually opened a make-ready business, and me and my team, we went out, and when people moved out of apartments or homes, we went in and used that GI cleaning we learned and spiffed those homes and apartments up so they could be rented. Thought I was doing great. I was, 23 years old, when someone I had a lot of respect for, significantly older, a mentor, stopped by. And we started talking, and he was telling me about this great opportunity where I could help inventors. And I had no idea what an inventor really was. I mean, I know who Doc Brown is, right? The flux capacitor. And that was my thought of inventors. And I said, nah, I'm doing good. About 3 months later, I sold everything I owned, which was a futon couch. And I moved to Springfield, Illinois. And that is where I was introduced into new product introduction and what inventors were. And that's where I learned these are good-hearted people, got a great idea, they just don't know exactly what to do. And with the right guidance, we can help them succeed. And by helping enough people succeed, we actually help ourselves. And that's kind of the philosophy we use at Inventor Process. In this industry, there's not a lot I haven't done. I started at Concept Marketing Consultants, and what was that? Springfield, Illinois in 1999 as a client coordinator. That's just very simply someone who helps the consultants with their clients. It's a great way to learn the industry. I moved up to a fulfillment director, which just means when clients are ordering services and moving forward throughout the process, I was the gentleman who shepherded that, through the different professionals and teams who actually implement the plan. Again, another great way to learn the industry from the ground floor up. And from there, I was a consultant and eventually the president of a great firm called Marketing Advisory Group. I actually came aboard as a consultant, was promoted to president, reorganized, retasked, and had a lot of great success. And then about 7 years, actually creeping up on 8, my partner and I, who happens to be my beautiful wife, formed Inventor Process. we took all the good that we learned, and my wife's been in the industry for 16 years, so she's no rookie by any means. But we took all the good and all the bad that we learned from the companies we worked with, from the industry as a whole, and we highlighted the good, we stripped out the bad, and we formed Inventor Process with the unique principle of not marketing clients' products for them. There's a lot of companies out there that say, hey, pay me a bunch of money and I'll call you when you made it. That phone call never comes, just FYI. They're happy when you paid them a bunch of money. So our goal was to empower and educate inventors, like I was saying earlier, so they can market their products. They take ownership in their success, and by taking ownership in that success, they try very diligent, they follow the plan. We coach them, we educate them, we teach them how to respond to the no's, and more importantly, when the yeses come through, we're there to guide them and negotiate that licensing agreement. And that's kind of the process. I started on the bottom rung simply because, well, I wanted something new to do. As somebody who gets bored extremely easy, new product introduction is great because every day it's something new, and it keeps me focused, keeps me energized. And while I happen to like success and money, and well, new products are a great way to help my clients and also help my family. So that's why I do what I do.
So my uncle actually, he passed away years ago, but him and my grandmother, they ran a marketing company, advertising company called Garland Advertising. It was in Brooklyn, New York. And he had the patent. Do you remember the hand? It was a little box, and you put a coin in, and the hand pops up and grabs it.
I do not recall it. I do not. But it sounds awesome.
It was made in the late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
He had the patent for this thing. Yeah, he had the patent for this thing, and it was all over shelves, all over the place. I remember as a kid going to toy stores and grabbing these things. I was like, "Oh, that's his. That's my uncle's. My uncle." It was really cool because he had that, and he had some weird clock also that he did. But I remember recently I brought up the patents, and you could see them and what really goes into those patents. So I don't know, for anybody that's listening and watching, I mean, what is the process? How do you decide what goes on that sheet? Do you help out with that process as well, or is that more of, the patent process itself?
Well, the patent process is a complicated process. Again, just for full disclosure, I am not a patent attorney. I am a marketer. However, we have a great team of intellectual property practitioners, patent attorneys, patent agents, work with a lot of great product engineers to make sure that our clients are not only filing patents, but they're filing high quality patents that actually offer market protection. And so a lot goes into doing it. You will hear a lot of inventor coaches telling independent inventors just sketch it down on a paper and blast off a provisional patent. Provisional patents are the greatest tool in the patenting arsenal when they're used correctly. And just scribbling down an idea and blasting it off to the PTO is not using it correctly. So what I often tell folks before you want to file a patent is you certainly want to flush out the idea. You want to make sure that you know what you're filing a patent on, and make sure patents focus on meat. As a marketer, I focus on sizzle, right? So I care about benefits. When it comes to patenting, you want to make sure that you have a good understanding of your features. You want to have a good understanding of how your features work together in combination to perform a task. And you want to be able to very clearly identify how that makes you different than any of the other patents in the field. So the very first thing I recommend to inventors is let's really dive into the invention. Yes, let's cover those benefits, but let's focus on those unique properties. Let's focus on those features and combinations of features. And something that independent inventors may not always include is let's focus on those variations. What can we take away from the invention, or what can we add to it that would make it profitable? And let's make sure that that gets included in that patent. And that process should start of the ideation phase, flushing out what your invention is, what those features are, and how they're beneficial before you file any type of patent, regardless if it's a provisional or a full utility. But the entire process, if you would come to our team, you have an idea on a sketch or a sketch on a sheet of paper. First, we'd walk it through our review process to see if there's merit to the invention. If there is, then our team would help flush out the idea to turn it from a concept to a marketable product. At which point the research team, the patent team, would then do a very thorough patent search. This is a step many independent inventors will skip. They say, man, I did a Google search, I couldn't find it. If it was patented, it'd already be out there. And that's 100% incorrect. Every inventor knows to get a patent. They just don't know what to do with it from that point forward. So the patent office is littered with inventions that the world would never see if they don't do a search. And often if you don't do a search, you won't find out until it's too late. So our team will go through, they'll actually do a complete patent search. We don't stop there. We don't hand that over to our inventors and tell them to make a decision. The attorneys then analyze the features of the client's invention versus what was found and makes a determination within their professional judgment if quality patent protection is available. And if it isn't, we clearly tell them, no, we recommend putting the brakes on. And if we have guidelines or suggestions to tweaking up the products, of course we share them. But ideation, then research, and then file the patent, making sure to clearly articulate what the problem is, what the product is, focusing on features. And then you can file a provisional. If you do it yourself, be as thorough as possible. Again, I'm a big believer in hiring a professional when it comes to any type of patenting. And then when you move forward with your full utility, that 20-year bad boy, you certainly want a quality patent practitioner. Of course, like the ones that work for Inventor Process, there's a bunch of them throughout the US though. And you want to just make sure that you have a quality patent practitioner. They're not all created the same, and you're not price shopping when it comes to patents, you're quality shopping. And so that's kind of the process. When it gets filed with the PTO, nowadays when it's a full utility, it's about a 2-year process to get it awarded to you, where you get your 8-digit number. But inventors, don't worry. As soon as that bad boy is stamped patent pending, you should be aggressively marketing. It's what I call screaming it from the highest mountain. If you're waiting for it to be issued, you're losing valuable time to the market. And well, you're most likely going to see competition before you ever get yours out there. So do it the right way. But as soon as that bad boy is patent pending, take off the brakes and it's full speed ahead with the marketing, using a good plan.
So now with patents, I'm trying to remember. There's a couple different types of patents, right? There's a design patent. What else is there?
Excuse me. So there's basically 4 patents in the United States. There's the plant patent, which doesn't pertain to 99.9% of the world. It has to do with vegetation that produces asexually. So again, the cannabis market is exploding. That is a great place where they're cloning cannabis, where plant patents would be used. But for most inventors, plant patents have no bearing. Then there's the 2 major ones that most people are aware of. There's the design patent, and the design patent covers the ornamental look of a product, the exact shape of that coffee cup. They're good for 14, 15 years. They just changed it. But if I change the shape of that handle, I change the shape of that design patent. They have their place when the exact ornamental look is important to the function of the product. And then there is what I often call the bad boy. That is the 20-year full utility patent. It covers the function of your product. Often materials are important, but size, shape, all of those, even materials many times are not really critical. It's what it does and how it does it. Those are also the most expensive form of patent protection. So thank goodness in 1995, the United States started using the provisional patent. So you have the plant patent, the design patent, the full utility, and then the provisional patent, which grants 1 year of patent pending status, basically allowing you to get your ducks in a row, go out there and test the market, kind of validate your product before you spend the big money on the full utility patent.
This is so informative.
Thank you.
I love it. I'm absorbing everything right now. So something I saw on one of your forums at the beginning when on your website,
Yes, sir.
there was a little box, there were 2 boxes. It says my design or my invention is electrical, my invention is mechanical. What is the difference between the 2 of them? And why do you have those boxes?
I'm sorry. A mechanical and electrical, they can certainly both of those features can be in a single invention. But when I talk about mechanical products, I mean products with moving parts and pieces. You've got piece A coming together with piece B, and when they function like they're supposed to, you get an outcome. That's mechanical. When I'm talking electrical, obviously anything that has any type of wiring, battery, solar. In today's market, everything is IoT, Internet of Things, it's Bluetooth. So almost everything has something electrical in it. Again, as a marketer, as someone who's in the new product introduction field, specializing in helping independent inventors, since you're no Mr. Pogan, I'll bring him up again. This is about as simple as it comes. I love this when it comes to independent inventors. It's not mechanical, it's not electrical, it's easy and it's appealing. But then you have something, again, like the doggy don't. It's got them both. There's some mechanics, there's some electric there. My recommendation to an independent inventor, keep it simple.
Yes, keep it simple.
I'm going to turn my back real quick. I would be remiss. I apologize for not having it sooner. But if I did not talk about my great friend Leandro and Jonathan of the Flicker Lighter. So you remember the Flicker devices from a few years back? Every kid had about 3 or 4 of them, the little spinners.
Yep.
So this is simply a sleeve that goes on your big lighter, and it turns your lighter into a flicker device. It's actually taking off tremendously in the cannabis market. And so that's great. And these guys are going to be in Boston at a great convention this weekend. So if any of your listeners, any of the heroes are in Boston, look them up, stop by, say hi, and get a free flicker lighter from their booth.
That's pretty cool. I would play with it. I don't smoke or anything, but I'd play with it. So now,
yeah, we froze up for a second. No, I don't smoke either. Actually, only about 13% of the population smokes cigarettes, when you've got about 33% of the population at some time in their life, and even a higher number, that have smoked cannabis. And it's actually exploding throughout the United States. I personally do not consume cannabis. Don't recommend any young person. Frontal lobe damage happens all the way up until about the age of 25, and they won't explain that in the cannabis fields. So I personally don't recommend it, but I do work with products in the industry because I'm an entrepreneur and a capitalist.
There we go. So, is there anything else you want to add about Inventor process or anything before I ask a couple of questions?
Sure. Inventor process, we don't work with everybody. We're actually very specific in the products that we look for. We provide guidance and advice, and we usually don't charge a dime for it. That's unlike a lot of the companies. So if your listeners have questions, if they just need some input, if they're down that invention path already and they just don't know where to go next, feel free to give us a call. Ask for me. I love working with clients. I have a lot of other responsibilities, but I always make time for inventors. So yeah, Inventor process, we're working to make our name the most trusted name in the invention industry, and we empower inventors. You don't have to rely on some other guy marketing your product. You have an entire team behind you so you can market your product the right way, making sure every dollar has a name, that there's a real plan, and when you need assistance, you can turn to us and we'll be there. We have been for the last 7 years, and we hope to be for about 13 more. And then the place is for sale.
There we go. So now with everything you've done through the military and through the invention space, if you were to do it all again, would you?
I would do it all again, 100%. I probably wouldn't have fell into the ditch in the Army if I knew that was coming up. So, I would change that. There would be a lot of changes I would make. Of course, I've learned a lot throughout the years. I've made tons of mistakes. So if I could do it all over again with the knowledge I have today, you better bet. Let's play.
That's great. So now I have a couple of questions. Heroes First
Yes,
podcast. Sir. 2 more questions that I'm going to ask before we end the show. Military background. I'm sure you've worked with plenty of entrepreneurs that are first responders, military, medical professionals, probably teachers as well. I want to ask something. What does a hero mean to you?
I think that's a To me, a hero is someone who puts the needs and welfare of someone else above their very own. They have to have a heart of courageousness. They have to have a spirit of service. And you've heard it said a million times before, I'm sure, but they are the people who run in the direction of trouble when everybody else is running the other way. So that's what I believe a hero is. And, a hero, there's firefighters, there's police officers, and there are soldiers, and they're the top of the list. But there's also the guys and gals who volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club. They're the guys and gals who go ahead and make time for the less fortunate. They serve food to the hungry, and they make sure that there's good mentors for children who don't have it. So I have a huge respect for a wide variety of heroes, including our soldiers and our patriots, which I am one, and then those that sometimes they don't get the recognition that they deserve. And I love on Fund the First how you have the nurses, you have teachers, and those are the honest to goodness heroes that often, and not to say thank goodness for COVID, but it has brought a highlight to the service they provide when often it goes ignored or taken for granted. So those are heroes to me.
Perfect answer. Love it. So before we end the show, I just want to ask one more question. And I think it's going to be a pretty cool answer that you're going to have, but I want it to be the first thing that pops in your head. And especially with your background and everything that you do, this might be interesting. Maybe it won't be. It might be boring. I don't know. But so if you were to have one superpower, what would it be?
I hope this probably isn't going to be as interesting as you were hoping. I'm embarrassed now. If I had one superpower, I don't want to say I'm a big fan of Bill Gates. I'm not against Bill Gates, but if he was asked this very same question, and he said it was to read faster. And knowledge is power. He is someone who consumes an awesome amount of books. And I'm sure he's busy, but he makes time to read. And so if I had any superpower, it would be to read faster, comprehend better, and implement, because knowledge is power. And what can you not do with knowledge? So read faster.
Great. So Edward, absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I really love everything that you're doing, loved everything you're saying. And I'm sure our listeners and viewers will take a lot away from this. So really quick, why don't you just rattle off how they can contact you before we end?
Yes, sir. And I want to share just one quick thing before we end, but inventorprocess.com is the website, inventorprocess.com. Our telephone number is 702-912-2600. Again, 702-912-2600. And shoot me an email at edward@inventorprocess.com. And if I can have 2 more seconds, the importance of team. Belgian horses, are you familiar with them?
No, not necessarily.
So a Belgian horse, it's a big, beautiful horse. And all by itself, it'll pull 8,000 pounds. If you put 2 Belgian horses together, you would think they would pull 16,000 pounds. But if you just take any 2 Belgian horses together, they can pull upwards of 22,000 pounds. If you train them and have them work together, they can pull up to 32,000 pounds. My point is team. You need a team. When you're taking a new product to the marketplace, I know it's your baby. I know it's important to you, but it is the right move to get a trusted team. You can accomplish a lot more when you have the right people in your corner, just like those Belgian horses.
Wow. I love it. Edward, thank you so much for coming on the show. And to all of our listeners and viewers, we'll see you all next time. Edward, take care.
Thank you, buddy.
You've been listening to the Heroes First podcast with Robert Garland. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. Make sure to like, rate, share, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, make sure to visit fundthefirst.com and follow us on social media at fundthefirst. See you next time.